What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Let's Do a Podcast. I always say it the same way, even though I mean to always change up how I say let's do a podcast. It ends up just being the same thing.
So let's do a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Different.
Anyways, I am Ryan.
I'm Zogan Bafflebrox.
Yeah.
Or you can call me here on Earth, Anthony. So
Yeah, it means the same. So
yeah.
I feel still like so rusty. I don't know why. Like it's not like we took a long break or anything, but I don't know.
Break.
That's right. We were on a break. So obviously this week we were talking about the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but of course,
Obviously,
because it's in the title.
Oh yes.
We have a title, so people usually see it before they see us. So
people aren't just going into these things blind. I just go into my podcast blind, so I never know what I'm getting myself into.
I mean, I watched the movie. Besides that, I have no idea what I'm gonna say. So
all right, yeah, there is no plan here. Let's go.
I mean, that's me every podcast. So but before we get into that, let's talk about a beer, because I'm actually really excited to drink mine, and I know you're excited to drink yours.
I am.
So tell us what you got, Anthony.
So I've been going through this series now it's been over a year now, right? Because we started it back when you were still living in Texas.
Yes, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was sometime last summer, if I remember right.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to report I think they released what I think is the last one in their series. And when I say they, I mean Community. And when I say this series, I mean Hop Unity. They've released the purple. Now, you may be asking yourself, they just released blue, and it's been so long between all the other brews. And the answer to that is yes. And yes, I just tried the blue, and I happened to go to Community, and they had the purple on tap. Of course, I tried it, so this won't be my first time on camera trying it, because I got
damn it, Anthony.
Yeah, so, sorry guys, but can I be honest? The blue was actually the first time I tried the blue was on here, but all the other ones I've tried them previously. So sorry guys, but purple, I'm gonna drink it for you guys. I don't remember what it tastes like, so it'll be like new. But yeah, Hop Unity Purple. It is of course, a hazy double India Pale Ale, featuring Solero hops. The entry on Untapped, you'll notice that can art is different too. They went full purple. They changed all their art. For the cans. If you look at the entries on Untapped, they changed all the art on those as well. Leads me to believe they're going to release all the colors in a 6-pack. I've been theorizing. I've had a theory that they're going to release Hop Unity 6-pack. One of each color, which I think would be a really cool idea if they still got the recipes for all of those. And then they can take my idea and pay me in 3D IPAs. So,
yes.
But yeah, Solero hops, clean with light, sweet, and not bitter aftertaste. It is an 8% ABV and is hoppy, juicy, citrus with a clean mouthfeel. So, Hop Unity Purple. Let's go.
Nice. Oh yeah, do the thing.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to try mine because it's actually from Dallas, Texas.
Nice.
Our people over at Celestial. It's Technical Skill Set. I love this beer. So this is I think the second release, maybe a third release of this beer. But it's a 10%, of course, hazy IPA, triple New England.
Getting outdone here.
Yeah. The last time I had this, I had it 3 times apparently, and I know it was cans that I bought. I gave it a 5 each time, so we'll see how it lives up to now. But it's a triple IPA loaded with a healthy charge of Strata Galaxy and Strata Hash. The aroma is very strong with fruity and passion fruit, mango, peach ring candy, pillowy, soft, and drinks like a fresh squeezed orange juice.
I think I've had this one before.
I think you
Sound
have,
familiar. Yeah.
because when we went to, me and Hannah went to the release of this, and I bought a lot of the packs. So I gave a lot away because I was just like, I bought too many of these.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna drink mine. So while I sip on mine, well, actually, I guess let's talk about the beer. Have you had a sip of yours, Anthony?
I have not yet. I was waiting while you were
Oh,
discussing yours. So
let's.
cheers. Oh, that's a good there. Look at that too.
Mm,
So the first time they actually poured this, so they were only doing can pours over at Community, and the first time they did it, it was obviously had a lot of sediment in the bottom. They didn't give me that. I was like, it happens, but it was like a lot in there. So I was worried with this can pour I was going to have a lot of sediment, and this one's pretty clean. So pretty happy about that.
oh man. It's almost sad that I'm drinking this. Like I've held on to it, and I was like, I feel like this is a good movie for it.
Yeah.
Um, it's still so good.
Same thing for me.
Mm, 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 mm. All right, so of course, at the end of the episode, we will rate them and talk about how much we love them. So,
I love you, beer.
I love you, beer. So, Anthony, what events or beer news do we have?
All right, so shout out to Bear and Big D out there doing the Lord's work. Coming up this weekend, we've got a few events, not a ton. We're in the dog days of summer here in Texas, and it's getting freaking hot down here. I am jealous of whatever temperatures you have up there, Ryan. I'm sure it's not 110 degrees up there. But we have coming up this Friday on July 14th, we do have the release at False Idol of Because of the Internet, which is a cool reference to one of my favorite rappers, Childish Gambino. I'm hoping that's what it is. They also have it's a dry hop pilsner, Summer Nights West Coast IPA, Welcome to Earth New England IPA, and a few others. Panther Island's also got their Friday Fun Day featuring live music and barbecue. I was supposed to go to Panther Island for the first time last week, but something ended up happening. I didn't make it out there. Panther Island's like literally down the street from me. I need to get down there. I've just never been down there, so I need to make a point to get out there. I was gonna go out there and do some trivia. This weekend on Saturday, we have out at Maple Branch Brewing over here in Fort Worth again. They have a wristband party, $15 at the door for 3 beers. We also have Hop and Sting Brewing out in Grapevine has their Rock Out Grapevine benefit. Always doing some really good charity work out there, Hop and Sting. And Turning Point on Saturday has an adoption event with the Bedford Animal Shelter. So good, some good stuff out there. And Denton County has their Denton County Brewing has their Bikini Bottom release party and a luau featuring pours served in fresh cut pineapples. That
would
sounds
be fun.
awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Division Brewing has their sour Sundays, $2 off of all sour beers on Sunday. And Denton County Brewing, not to be outdone by their luau, the next day they do have their beer pong tournament. Looking further out, towards the end of July is when things start really popping off. What's going on that things pop off, you may ask? Lakewood Brewing, Christmas in July 29th. Not to be outdone on July 29th, we also have my favorite event of the year, Sour Fest at Martin House. I will be there. I'm there every year. I will be there this year. If you're there and you see me, say hi. But Sourfest at Martin House, love it there. It's a crowded event. Get there early. It's always freaking crazy. No matter how hot it is, it's always freaking nuts. I'm going to bring a tent because it gets freaking hot out there.
Yeah.
And Tufts on August 5th is doing their IPA Fest. Not sure what the state that I've been following up a little bit every now and then. Got updates on their new facility. I don't think it's quite done yet. Looking like sometime in the fall. So they'll still be in some of their old digs there. But IPA Fest, Tufts IPAs are always good. So go check that out. Their IPAs and their stouts. To be honest, August 19th, getting further in there. Division Brewing's they're doing their Wizard Fest, and then, as we've been explaining, September, we got the Dallas Observer Brew Fest on the 9th. And then Beer Fest at Flying Saucer, Fort Worth, is October 21st. And the Best Little Brew Fest in Texas in Old Town Louisville on October 21st. So way out there on the horizon, but put it on your calendar. Those are some of the bigger events here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Go check them out. Good stuff.
And to tell you what the temperature high was today, which is this is the lowest it's been in a while. It's 75.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I wish.
And then pretty much the rest of the week. So at 2 points we get like I think 90 and then like 92, and then it goes back down to like mid 80s. So we have a great summer up here, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
Yeah, I'll
deal with the heat dome down here, triple digit temperatures every day.
It's so crazy. The people up here that are like, oh, it gets so hot, it gets so hot. But like July is the hottest month typically for up here in Oregon. So I'm just like, so far hasn't been that bad. The prediction for the rest of the month doesn't look that bad. So I'll take it.
Give it a few years and you'll be like, oh, it's so hot.
Yeah. See, but the plus side is,
my God.
Yeah, like in September, we're coming down to the Texas coast. So it's like, I'll be able to be like, okay, this is why I don't live here. Like already, I'm just like, man, I don't want to go back. Like,
the weather sucks. Yes. Okay.
All right, so let's talk about some TV shows and movies. So I'm actually going to share my screen because I forgot we can actually do that. So you can look with me, Anthony. So the first, I didn't realize Twisted Metal is a TV series.
Yeah, they just announced it recently. Anthony Mackie.
So I'm really looking forward to this. I just watched the trailer before we started. It looks really, really fun. Because if you ever played the PlayStation game from, I don't even remember what year it was. It was like forever ago.
It was like the early to mid 2000s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like PS1.
I loved the game. I played it so much. So I'm really looking forward to it. So if you have not looked at the trailer, make sure you go look at the trailer because it'll make you want to watch a few episodes. It does make me nervous because it could go and kind of south pretty quick, like not be that great. But we'll see.
It's interesting. I saw before they released the trailer, they released a scene featuring what's the name of the clown?
Let's see. It has it right here. I don't know.
Oh, but he's got some kind of silly name. But he's like, they're like in a bar or in in some kind of like library or something. There's somewhere in the books, but like it's him and this dude and Anthony Mackie, and he's there to kill Anthony Mackie's character, and they like end up bonding, singing some kind of song, karaoke, whatever, and just like partying down when the clown dude's about to straight up kill him. I never played Twisted Metal. I just know this project's been in development hell for years. So I'm excited to finally see. I'm always excited to see one of these projects like finally make its way out of the studio, whether it's because they just needed to get something because of the writer's strike or what, and they just need to get some kind of content out there, and it's just been in the back room.
Yeah, we can hope it's an actual finished project, not something they just threw out there.
Yeah, it's like we need something to fill this slot. So
they finished it with AI help, so it's gonna be trash at the end. Oh my God! Just kidding. Yeah, I don't know.
Just count the fingers on everybody's hands.
Right. All right. So
I'll watch an episode and see how it goes.
Yeah, same. Next series, I actually saw the commercial for this a few times, and it looks so good. Have you seen the commercials for this Anthony and Silo?
So before I saw a commercial, I watched this like I do any Apple TV show. I started this on a flight. I was flying to somewhere. I really don't remember where I was going, but I was on a flight, and I just downloaded a bunch of episodes, and this was being advertised. And I was like, oh, it's got Rashida Jones in it. And spoiler alert, guys, she's just in the first episode. So Rashida Jones is like one of my favorite actresses because she's freaking hilarious. But it's really interesting. That is one of the Apple's really good at those shows that like really hook you and get you with the suspense, and they just kind of build on that tension over time. And so there's a really good mystery at the center of this. and I'm on episode like 4 or 5. I had to stop because I was watching something else, but I'm ready to hop back into this. This movie, this show is really good.
Yeah, I we don't have Apple TV or Apple TV Plus right now, mainly because we have so many other services. So I'm like, okay, before we move on to this service, let's finish watching what we're watching on these other ones. We'll cancel that and then get this. It's just
Mhm.
like there's only so many services you can pay for at once.
Yeah,
But every time I saw this commercial or yeah, the advertisement for this, I was like, I am so excited to watch this because it's absolutely down my alley of a
yeah.
show. Um, and yeah, so I would recommend if you're interested, go watch the trailer for this, and I'm pretty sure if you're like us, it's gonna that alone's gonna hook you in.
Yeah, and if you're not a TV watcher and you're still curious about this, I will say this is also a book series. So check out the books as well. This is based on a book series. A lot of Apple's shows are based on book series, which I
Yeah,
also like. So
yeah. All right,
not too much
next
though.
Elements. Have you seen anything about this, Anthony?
I'm aware of its existence.
I am actually excited about this. Okay, so what's the other one where it's like the person's emotions?
Inside Out.
Inside Out.
Yeah.
It seems like it's exactly like that, but just with elements
Hmm.
instead. So I don't know. I've watched the trailer a few times. I'm like, you know what? I think this is gonna be a fun kind of dumb movie, you know?
Yeah.
One where it, you don't expect anything deep from it, and that's great. I think it's gonna be a fun one though.
Yeah, I'm interested in so a lot of these movies they grab like big name talent to kind of juice the movie a little bit, and this one didn't really have any big name talent attached to it. So I'm really interested or intrigued, and that they must feel they have a really good, strong story. It
Yeah.
hasn't done great in the box office like a lot of other Pixar movies. Um, I kind of blame that on when they released it, and the fact that there's no big names attached to it. But I'm curious when this hits Disney Plus, I'll likely watch it. So
Same. And that's it too. Is like, I mean, I'm not gonna go out to the theater and watch it for multiple reasons. Um, but I mean, even the IMDb rating, it's a lot higher than I thought it would be. So that's why I'm like,
yeah,
okay, I'm gonna give it a good shot then, you know.
yeah,
Um, that's about it for that. And okay, so I finally watched the trailer for this. I know we talked about
yeah.
this a few months ago. And I was like, I haven't seen anything. I just know it's coming out. Okay, I've watched trailers and things about it. It's just gonna be a great movie.
Yeah.
Like, um, even me and Hannah decided like this is gonna be the movie we go see in theaters. So,
Nice. Yeah.
um, this will be my first movie since Black Panther that I've seen in theaters, and of course, for some reason, it's gonna be Barbie. Um,
But this movie looks like it's like taking the subversive like way about it. It's not a straight up. It's like
yeah,
you remember all these like CGI Barbie movies coming out like in like the like after Toy Story came out and like all these like little girl movies that they released. And this is taking the very subversive route. It's like Will Ferrell's in it. You know, it's going to be a little bit crazy
yeah, and I think
because he's
that's
yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
I have a theory about this movie. So you remember, so the Lego movie. Spoiler alerts for the Lego movie, but the Legos are being controlled by the little boy whose
Right,
father is Will Ferrell, right?
right.
Uh, I have a theory that this is part of a Mattel. Well, Lego's not part of Mattel, but this is going to be part of like a toy cinematic universe, and that the CEO of Mattel is just really into Legos, but he keeps it in the basement because he's ashamed because it's a different product, different
Mm,
company's product. But I think there's going to be references in there to Will Ferrell's character being the same character that he played in Lego Movie. So
I could see
keep
that.
an eye out for it. That's my theory. So
Yeah, and I think what makes me like excited about this is it doesn't seem like it's I don't know. Whenever you think of like a Barbie movie, your mind automatically goes to a certain place of
yeah,
just almost like, oh my god, that's gonna be so annoying. But it seems like it's more of like a mixture of kind of making fun of, and it looks
yeah,
actually silly. So it's like okay. So it's not going to be a serious Barbie movie. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, honestly, the way they hooked me in the trailer is when she yells to everybody in the middle of a dance party, "You ever think about dying?" I was like,
Yeah,
"What?" So, and then they make the foot joke where her feet aren't like a normal Barbie's feet, but they're like a regular person's feet. She's
yeah.
like, my feet shouldn't be able to do this, and then and yeah, and it goes from there. So it's interesting. Of course, I'm a boy. I didn't play with Barbies. My sister had Barbies, but I find it really interesting because like some of the outfits they had in there, like when they're rollerblading in one part of the trailer, my sister had those outfits for her Barbies. So I was like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
I recognize that. So and my wife, she was a Barbie collector as well, and so she's got a bunch of those as well. So I recognize some references. So I found it really interesting that they're paying, they're dropping a little bit of those references for people who are big fans of Barbie to kind of grab onto, but they're also kind of putting in that snark for people to get people who are not Barbie fans in there. So I like their tagline is it's like it's a movie for people who love Barbie and it's a movie for people who hate Barbie. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm really
yeah,
I really didn't think I would be looking forward to it, but for some after I actually watched the trailer, I'm like, "Okay, I get it now."
yeah.
Um,
And if you don't want to go see that movie, coming out the same day as Barbie is Oppenheimer, which is the opposite of this movie.
this
Like you can
very opposite.
watch a movie about the birth of the nuclear bomb by Robert Oppenheimer, which also is going to be a good movie. That's from Christopher Nolan, so that's going to be a good one as well. So
Yeah, that looks good, but at the same time, it's like that almost feels too with everything going on. I was like, I don't know if this is the right time to release this movie, but let's go for it, I guess.
there's never a bad time to talk about the Manhattan Project.
Yeah. All right. So let us move on to the movie. So, Anthony, do you want to give us the little synopsis and then we will chat about the movie?
All right, let me put on my best Hitchhiker's Guide voice here. So, everyone has bad mornings. Oh, this is the synopsis, by the way, or the description of the storyline. All right. Anyways, everyone had bad mornings. You wake up late, you stub your toe, you burn the toast. But for a man named Arthur Dent, this goes far beyond a bad day. When he learns that a friend of his is actually an alien with advanced knowledge of Earth's impending destruction, he is transported off of Earth seconds before it is blown up to make way for a new hyperspace motorway. And as if that's not enough, throw in being wanted by the police, Earth 2, an insane electronic encyclopedia, no tea whatsoever, a chronically depressed robot, and the search for the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. And you've got the greatest adventure off of Earth. Pretty
So,
accurate.
was this the greatest adventure?
The book is the greatest adventure. The movie is not the book. I've read the entire book series is 5 books, and it's pretty dope.
Yeah,
The movie tries. It's hard. It's so hard to capture the essence of the book.
yeah, and I mean that's the thing is they try to fit a lot into one movie
Yeah,
instead of making it a series.
it was supposed to be a
But
series because they hook the reference at the end there because the next book in the series is the restaurant at the end of the universe.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I never read the book, but I always are books, but I always wanted to. I just never got around to it.
Mhm.
And then really whenever it was, we me me and Anthony switched off choosing movies, and I was flipping around trying to find one. I was like, you know what? I haven't seen this in a long time. Hannah was just like, I've never seen it. So I'm like, let's do it. It's perfect. And then whenever I messaged you, you're like, I have lots of opinions. It's like, okay, perfect choice then. Um, so I saw this. Let's see, when did it come out? 2005. I probably saw it pretty
2005.
soon after, like once it came out on, well, that time, whenever it came out to video, DVD, all that.
Yeah.
So I watched it there. So that was my first uh uh first thing even like knowing about. I didn't know it was a book for a long time.
Hmm.
I mean, which I guess I should have known that because the Hitchhiker's Guide is like it's a movie about a book in a sense, but
Right.
anyway, so I loved it then, and I loved it for such a long time, but then I've probably not seen it since 2009, I would say,
Uh-huh.
something like that. So it was kinda good to go through it again, kinda get that refresher of like, "Okay, now that I've seen the world a little bit
Yeah.
more, let's get the refresher of this movie." Um,
Yeah, I feel like this one's a good primer. If you have one of those nerdy nerds in your life, and they just like to spout off random things like 42 whenever you ask them just a question, and you're asking them for a serious answer, and they give you something like 42. This explains why they say that.
yeah.
Why do they say these things? I read the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I actually back when Barnes and Noble was a big thing, they sold these compendiums of like book series and like the big, thick, huge books. I still have it. And in fact, this movie's gonna probably encourage me to go back and actually read the books, or at least listen to them on tape. Uh, uh, since I'm looking for stuff to listen to, anyways, I'm getting bored with my current book. But I digress. I read it probably when I was in the 11th and 12th grade in high school. And this movie came out maybe 3 years after I graduated high school. So I was when I was in college. And so I saw this movie in the theater because I was like super into Douglas Adams at the time. This book series came out in this like late 70s, early 80s. And so it's just got all that snark and all that humor, dry British humor from those that time frame there. But it translates so well because it's all about how like you shouldn't get yourself like tied up or bound up in all these seemingly important things, because like it's ultimately all like not important at the end. It's just important to just kind of enjoy what you're doing as you go. So it's a really good story there, but it's also easy for a young reader to just get overly philosophical about it, which I did because I thought I was a very smart child, which I was very dumb. So
Weren't we all?
yeah.
I actually just put the book series on my wish list, so because
Highly
I've been
recommend it.
yeah, I've been wanting to get into reading again because I really haven't in such a long time. I usually do audiobooks and stuff like that, but it's like, I'm ready to like sit down and actually try to read something. It's been too long, but
Yeah, it's
anyways.
funny too because it's another one of those things where I wish they had, but the movies didn't make a ton of money, or the movie didn't make a ton of money. But you can see those things. You can see them trying to set up the building blocks of the follow-on movies, like the stuff with the bowl of petunias, where they refer to it as it's falling. That comes back in a later book where it becomes a very important plot element. Oddly enough, a falling bowl of petunias that's like, oh no, not again. You find out why it says, oh no, not again. And it's like funny stuff like that. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's the movie's not the book, but the movie is never the book. So
Yeah, I mean, it's just like Lord of the Rings. Like, look at any movie based off the book. It's never going to be the same. I mean,
except for extended edition Lord of the Rings, which is almost as long as the book.
man, let me tell you, I have all of them. I still haven't gone through them just because it's so much. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, so my own dad, he loves the books of Lord of the Rings, but he's just like, I just can't watch the movie. Like, he still hasn't seen the movie.
Oh, really?
Because he's just like, I can't get that ruined for me. And I was like, I understand. And I was like,
I can understand that for like maybe The Hobbit, because that's different.
Yeah.
But for Lord of the Rings, I felt like they did a good job.
He's always just been so hesitant. I'm like, it's so great though. Like, it's so great though.
Yeah, unless you're just like a big Tom Bombadil stan, like I don't see what the issue is. But
Yeah.
that's just me. So
But anyways, we're not talking about Lord of the Rings, but I was just referencing. But so where do you want to go with this? Because I feel like there's so many directions. So what are some things you want to talk about with this movie before we start moving into the likes and dislikes?
so it's really interesting. The actors they got for this, they got an all-star cast of like British and American actors. Like Sam Rockwell, like brings it per usual. I wasn't super familiar with Sam Rockwell at the time, but he's like he's done a ton of stuff. Like if you may be more familiar with him, you collectively out there may be more familiar with him as Justin Hammer from Iron Man 2. He was in MCU as Justin Hammer. He was the one of the bad guys in there. He was also in a really good movie called Moon, where he's this guy that's on the moon, but like he ends up finding that there's like basically a bunch of clones of him on the moon. He's just in a ton of stuff. He's a great actor. Mos Def, which that's not, he doesn't necessarily go by that name anymore. What's his name now?
Let's see. I just had it up.
Yassine Bey.
Yes, that's right.
He's a great actor. He doesn't do a ton of stuff recently. He still does some stuff, but he doesn't do a ton of stuff. Martin Freeman. Yeah, so
I love
like
him.
the original Jim archetype from The Office. Also was in The Hobbit. Oddly enough, he was
Zoe.
one of the and Zoe Deschanel playing Trisha McMillan, aka Trillin. Zoe Deschanel, this is pre her being in New Girl, and so this is when she was like New Girl in Hollywood, so to speak. But she, I feel bad for her on this one. She gets some grief on this one. She got some grief on this one because she's not as the characters described in the book, and she does. They, for the purposes of the movie, they played her a certain way. They made her a love interest, where in the book, Trisha McMillan or Trillin is not a love interest. So she got some grief because of how like she was cast to be the love interest. She was, she was the original manic pixie dream girl. And so you cast someone who is that archetype, they're going to fall in love with the dumb guy who doesn't realize what he has, or who refuses the call of adventure, which is basically Martin Freeman's type that he's cast. He played Bilbo Baggins, the ultimate refusal to the call of adventure, who just ultimately gives into it, right? He's really good at playing that type. So Zoe Deschanel, she did well with what they gave her in the script. Douglas Adams, who was alive at the time of this movie, he was, I believe, he contributed to the script, and like everything in there was blessed off by Doug Adams. So there's a lot of purists out there who kind of give crap, but he was like, hey, let's do it that way. That's cool. So I say whatever. I'd be really curious where it was going to go because again, Arthur and Trillin were not an item in the books, and she doesn't really factor into it all that closely. There's actually other love interests that factor that come into the picture later for Arthur Dent. But anyways, it's neither here nor there because there was only one movie, unfortunately. So. But yeah, the actors were really good, really well cast. They had a really Bill Nighy coming in there at the end with what was his name, Slabardafast. Yeah, which he came in like at the very end of the movie as like kind of a surprise appearance there. Bill Nighy's always pretty good too. So yeah, great British actors in there. So I enjoyed the casting. The casting was good.
Yeah, they definitely casted this very, very well. And also John, I'm terrible at his last name.
John Malkovich. Yeah.
Yes. I love him. He's such a good actor. That's
how you know they planned on having more than one movie because they never come back to him.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like he's the type of character where like he kind of always plays the same type of character in every movie that he's in. Or show, but it's always a character you're happy with. But yeah, I thought I liked his kooky, weird character.
Yeah, the eyeball thing was kind of spooky when he took his glasses off, and it was just basically empty eye sockets. It looked like something out of like one of those SCP monster stories.
Right. So let's go. Let's move into the likes and dislikes because I have a feeling this might involve a lot of talking. So let's start off with what did you like about this movie? Besides the cast, you can't use the cast again.
Yeah, I already said that. The thing I really liked about this movie, so a big chunk of the book. So the plot in the book is really straightforward, and so is the plot in this movie. If you've seen it a bunch of times, I guess. For someone who's seeing this with fresh eyes, I don't know how straightforward the plot would be to you because it kind of it kind of relies on a lot of relies on you understanding what the hell's going on, I guess. It does, but the thing I love about this is that it tries to explain as it goes along the way why people are doing what they're doing, and it uses the framing device of the Hitchhiker's Guide to explain that. And I love that convention because the book does this too, where it kind of uses these Hitchhiker's Guide articles, which Ford Prefect, played by Yassine Bey, or Mos Def, he's an author for the book. And it uses these articles and a really interesting animation style for it to kind of walk you through, kind of hold your hand if you're new to this world, and kind of explain to you why things are happening the way they're happening, like how this ship works, why this guy's president. I think I only saw like one news clip. Like the traditional way of doing this is like using a news clip. I only saw one of those. Kind of to use as an explainer, but everything else is like kind of explaining this is how the ship works. This is why they turned into couches or yarn or what have you, to kind of like explain to you why, kind of like loosely why it's happening without getting too jargony or too into detail, and or explain to you why why 42 is 42, what's important about that. It's really interesting how they explain this stuff. Otherwise, I feel like people coming fresh into this movie would just be totally lost. I feel like maybe this movie didn't make it as big as it should have because people were so lost anyways. But I'm also spoiled by the fact that I've read these books a few times, and I'm just a big reader of all of Douglas Adams stuff. The Dirk Gently, this stuff loosely connects to the Dirk Gently holistic detective series as well. So and there's references to that as well. So I don't know. But yeah, I love the Hitchhiker's Guide articles. Those are my favorite thing in this movie.
Yeah, it's hard not to like the actual guide cutaways. Because I mean that was one. I do have like 2 or 3 different things that I like, because I had a feeling we would probably like some of the same things, and so that's kind of what it was for me too, is the actually cutaway of the guide, because it helps you. It's like, it's nice because like you see that it's helping Arthur on top of helping us.
It's funny because he like Ford gives him the book when he's like freaking out over the fact that he's on this ship, like after Earth has been exploded. He gives him the book. He's like, "Here, read this. Shut up, calm down."
Yeah, and I love like whenever the book is like explaining itself, and then like one reason that it's a bestseller is it has bold letters in the back, "Stay calm." Like but another thing that I like too is like I feel like they just as soon as the movie started, it just got to the point.
Yeah.
And I like that so much, where I wish more movies would do that. Cause like throughout the adventure, you start to like our author. You start to like the people that you're hanging out with, watching their adventure.
Versus, you learn about who these people are as they do stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. Versus like I feel like almost all movies now, it's just like they want you to learn about the person and then go on the adventure. I'm just like, it's it works, and in a lot of movies it does work, but I mean, I feel like most of the people listening and watching know, for me, it's just like, just get to the point.
Yeah, like, show, don't tell. Yeah.
Yeah. If there's too much story, if there's too much building, it can really kill a movie. So I don't know. I really enjoyed that.
Gonna kill your momentum before you even get the chance to get any. Yeah.
Yeah, like right off the bat, you're like, okay, wait, what's happening? But then you kind of feel like author too, of just like, he's confused, you're confused, and like you're learning as he's learning, kind of thing.
Right.
And yeah, I love the every time they what was it called? But every time they did the jump in the spaceship and they would turn into different things.
The probability drive, yeah.
Yes. I love that. I thought that was so just like another quirky, weird thing to throw in there that worked. That was fun. Especially whenever they turned into the yarn people, Oh,
yeah, that transition was so cool when he's throwing up into the can and then it zooms up to him, his hand is yarn, but then it like gets up to him and he's normalized, his face is normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just like stuff like that. That's like there was a lot of really well done details in this movie. Um, and I think it doesn't get enough credit for how many small detailed things they do
Hmm.
that I think are easily overlooked. And I feel like only because I'm going through it again, I'm noticing a lot of things too. Like even just like whenever they're zooming through at the end, whenever they're zooming through the new Earth, or just like little things here and there. I'm just like, man, like they put so much work into this freaking movie. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like the CG budget on this must have been like nuts.
Oh yeah.
I'm curious if they lost money on this movie.
Let's see if I scroll down far enough. Okay, so the budget was $50 million. The worldwide gross is $104 million.
Okay.
So
So they probably lost money on it because when you count advertise, because I know this movie was advertised pretty heavily.
yeah, that's just the budget for the actual movie. Yeah, I bet
Yeah.
overall it's either some loss or
Or break even
close.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what did you dislike about this movie?
I was thinking to myself, like, so I've got this habit of watching these movies and letting other people like affect the way I think about these movies. I'll go in and like when I saw like Force Awakens, I was like, man, this movie's great. I love this movie. And then I saw other people's opinions of it. I was like, maybe this movie's not as good as I thought it was. Maybe I didn't like think of these other things. It's like this is basically just a copy of Episode 4. So with this movie, I feel like I got in that same rhythm there where I watched it. I was like, oh man, the dolphin singing the song in the beginning. That's like a reference to there's a book called So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. It's like the third or fourth book in the series. And then there's the fact that the dolphins all disappear in the beginning. I thought it was a really interesting way of showing that because they all leave Earth because they know it's going to get exploded. But so I've found myself going into this movie remembering that or thinking that I remember myself like not liking it, and I watched it and I was like, I actually do like this movie. This movie's snappy. This movie moves along pretty quickly, but I did find the one thing that just as a almost 40-year-old adult now, the one thing I didn't care for is one of the few things that is not in the book that's still there that is there. The other thing that's in the book is the Hava Kavula plot element, which I'm sure was going to go somewhere if they had other movies to do it in. But one of the elements I mentioned earlier that's not in the book that was in the movie was the love triangle, I don't know, ish, with Trillin, Arthur Dent, and Zaphod Beeblebrox. They made it so like she realized she was in love with Arthur Dent because they had this thing where they met each other on Earth like a few months before Earth was exploded. And then they met each other on the ship and yada, yada, yada. In the book, they'd never met before seeing each other on the ship. The only two that had met each other were, or the only other person that Arthur had met previously was Zaphod, because he met him at a party. He did meet him at a party, but he never met Trillin. So in the book, Trillin was like indifferent towards Arthur. He was just another human. And that's all really the only interest she had in him. But the addition of the love interest, I understand that's why it's very obvious that's why they cast Zooey Deschanel for this movie. They could have cast somebody else if they weren't going to do the love interest thing, but that's the one thing I didn't really care for in this movie. I feel like they could have done okay without it. Because they could have just rescued her if she was a friend and if he wasn't like madly infatuated with her or whatnot. So I don't know.
Right.
That's the one thing I didn't really care for with this movie.
For me, and again, I know people listening, if you've listened to pretty much all of our older stuff, you'll probably roll your eyes, but I feel like we got introduced to way too many people that led nowhere. That like,
Mhm.
and granted, I know that there was plenty, like they were hoping to make more and all that kind of stuff. So it really could come down to that of just like little introductions, like I already forgot his name, but the actor. John.
Oh, John Malkovich, Havakavula. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like I want to know more about him. I want to know more about even the background of like the president of the universe. Like just like all these. Like I want to know those details, not these random people that get thrown in there. I don't know. Like it's like mixed feelings of just like, okay, this scene wasn't necessary because like why do I care about this person?
Right.
Um, so and again, like it could just come down to if there was another movie and we see those people again, or it's like more of their point of view of something. Cool, that's cool. You know, I get that, but
We have a gun for that.
we do have a gun for that. So to me, I feel like that's kind of my only complaint that I could think of after watching this was just like you would kind of meet somebody or they would talk about somebody or somebody would be kind of quick and then you're like they're done, but you're like okay, but I feel like they play a bigger part than what they were given right here. So
Yeah, particularly with the whole element where his head is still on display in this dude's like church or whatever.
mhm.
And so this movie ends and it's like, let's go to this restaurant. It's like, your other head is still with the other dude that you don't like, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's why I was just like yeah, and it was a mixture of that too. It was just like the ending just kind of felt not done. And
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense of why it felt not done because it wasn't done.
Right.
Um, so yeah, those are my complaints about this.
Yep. And the
So
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy universe.
yes.
Yeah.
All right. So what we do now, I know. I'm sorry, people. We are on Letterbox. So now we rate our movies based off a star rating, which is between 1 and 5. So, and which you can follow us there if you want, which is Let's Do a Podcast and see all the movies we've watched and rated the most recent ones. So, Anthony, how would you rate this movie?
I would rate this movie at 3.5. I feel like this movie was as true as it could be to the book. I understand why they made some certain artistic choices with characterization and yada yada yada, so on and so forth. It's funny because they actually added in more plot elements, like the whole trip to the Vogon sphere wasn't in the book. They ended up just like going straight to Magrathea, whatever. So they never went to the planet with. I had the guy's name and then I just lost it. But John Malkovich's character, they never went to the Vogonosphere. So they ended up actually padding it out from the book a little bit. But it's like just like the love story thing that was like just like man, maybe if they had the chance to make another movie, they would have justified it a little bit better.
Right.
So I don't know. I give it a 3.5. It's a really good attempt at a adaptation of a really good book. They just didn't do it good enough to like attract general audiences. And honestly, if they did get a general audience like praise, I probably wouldn't have liked it. So what are you gonna do?
I feel like that's a really fair rating, so I'll give mine the same 3.5. I think it's a good movie. I would recommend people to watch it. I think it's a good one
Yeah.
to put on. Um, I I really I enjoyed You Learn Things as Arthur Learned Things.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my favorite things about this. Um, so you start off confused, but so does the main character. So it's really really fun.
Yeah. One thing we didn't even touch on, the practical effects were great. Like the
Oh
Vogon
yeah,
puppets. I feel bad for the dudes in those suits. They're wearing these giant rubber suits. They're wearing giant rubber suits with giant rubber suits on top of the normal giant rubber suit. So
yeah, no, definitely there. Yeah, that just goes back even to the details of everything that they did for
yeah,
this movie. Like it's insane. So I think it's worth a watch. I don't think it's the most amazing movie, but I think it'll keep your interest for the hour, almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I
I
mean,
knocked it
to
out
me,
pretty
it went
quickly at
by
work
quick.
today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really did. I feel like watching it out, it didn't feel like you were 2 hours and you're like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, end please." You're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. This movie's
So
pretty snappy. It goes pretty quickly.
so so there you go. There's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Um, so let us have you finished your beer?
I did.
Let's talk about our beers then. I finished mine. It's still amazing. I truly think I'd still keep this a 5.
Yeah.
This is one there's almost no flaw. And I mean, I'm feeling it a lot more because I haven't had dinner yet. And
Me either.
for lunch it was a salad. So it's like I don't have a lot in me right now, but it's still really good. Um yeah, it's one if they had it at the brewery, I'd buy all the packs that I could, like I did last time.
Nice.
So what about you?
All right, so purple. So we've had Roy G, Bip, red, orange, yellow, blue, and purple. I'd have to say I'd still think so. I think blue was number 1 or number 2 in my rankings there, followed by yellow, then green, and then red and orange. Purple, I think, falls after blue and yellow, maybe ahead of green there. So I do have to say though, all of the beers in Hop Unity series, I do enjoy them very much. I will give this one a 4.
Nice. Yeah, that's really
Yeah,
good for
it's
you.
pretty good.
So there you
Tastes more like an imperial. Well, more like an imperial IPA than a hazy double IPA. But I digress. It's still pretty good.
yeah. I mm, I wish I could taste it. Um yeah, that's one
I'll
thing.
see if I
So
can't save one and bring you some up there.
right, just hide it in your suitcase. Don't let
Yeah.
anybody know. But all right, let's move on to our thing of the week. Do you have something or do I need to go?
You go ahead first.
All right. So we decided to go through the TV series instead of going through The Office for like the millionth time. Hannah's never gone through Seinfeld. Exactly.
Neither is
So
Mo.
um it's huge in my house. My mom, like my whole family, like we grew up just watching this.
Yeah.
So it's been always such like a big thing, and we reference it so much that Hannah's just like, even though she hasn't seen it, she knows all the references almost.
Yeah.
So we're finally, I think we're only on season 2 right now.
Hmm.
But it's just great because like it brings you joy whenever like you think a series is funny and then like your spouse watching it first time is laughing pretty hard too. Cause like
Yeah.
there's stuff in there you're like, oof, that didn't age well. Um
Yeah. Yeah.
but there's still some really funny stuff in there. So it's been fun to go through again. On top
Yeah.
of course, all the other shows that we're watching, because apparently there's no shortage of us rewatching shows.
I do gotta say some of my favorite early Seinfeld stuff is Elaine dancing for one. That's just
Oh yes,
pretty great. Pretty
yeah.
terrible.
Like I kind of forgot about like where Art Vandelay came in.
Yeah.
So watching the first episode of whenever they figure out how to use the name, and now and just be like this name goes on for the whole series. So it's
Yeah.
just funny to watch the beginning at this age of my life versus really watching it as a kid.
Right.
So yeah, I guess my thing of the week is it's Seinfeld. I mean, it's such a weird show, but it's really funny. So what you got, Anthony?
So my thing of the week is, let me see, look around the room because I was so engaged in the Seinfeld thing that I wasn't thinking about my own thing. So,
Nice.
so my thing of the week is Prime Day actually. So, Amazon Prime Day is coming up tomorrow.
Got to give that
Usually,
money to Daddy Bezos.
Yeah, so I'm usually not into it, but there's actually a few things I got my eye on. Like I want to buy this bed frame. I want to buy adult stuff, and so I'm gonna buy grown up items. I'm gonna buy a bed frame for our spare bedroom, which is actually gonna be this room that I'm in right now, and we're gonna move our office to the other room, but we have this just stack of mattresses in the other room, and so I'm excited to buy a mattress, a thing to put mattresses on. And yeah, maybe buy like a new pair of AirPods, because my current pair of AirPods is like 3 years old. So I feel like I've earned a new pair. My wife's gone through three pairs, and so I feel like I've earned mine because I've just had mine since forever. So, but yeah, it's giving money to Daddy Bezos. But a deal's a deal, even with a dirty dealer. So I'll still take the
Let me
cheap stuff.
tell ya.
So yeah,
No, I get that too. Like, I mean, I've looked at a bunch of the stuff that's gonna be for Amazon Prime Day, and I kind of thought the same thing, but I was like, so like we just bought a car, so I was like, okay, before I spend all this other money, I need to calm down. Let's work on the car, and then the car money aspect, and then we can buy things that we need to.
that's right. This past month was new car month, wasn't it?
Apparently,
Yeah,
same weekend y'all got a new car. We did
yeah,
too.
nice.
That's so funny. Yeah, man. Yeah, I
Fun
won't say too
times.
much about
Yeah.
it, but yeah, it was. We're very lucky we found the deal that we got, because that the Jeep beforehand was such a great car, but man, we almost had 180,000 miles for a 2011. I was like, there's about to be a lot of issues with this car. So
Yep. Yep. I feel like it's like every 80,000 miles, you just get like a heavy amount of issues on a car. So you're coming up on it, or 90,000. Yeah, it was 90,000. So
yeah, I was like, let's get rid of it before we can get nothing for it. So,
exactly.
anyways,
Yep.
all right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I don't know. I had fun this episode.
I did as well, as
Cool.
always.
Right. Hopefully, you all enjoyed it. Make sure to leave us a review wherever you listen to us. That really helps boost up the podcast. And if you have any movie or beer recommendations, hit us up. We'd love to try them. You can watch us on Facebook at Let's Do a Podcast, Twitch, Twitch a Podcast, and YouTube at Let's Do a Podcast. You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. And follow us on Letterboxd at Let's Do a Podcast.
Yes.
Untapped at Let's Do a Podcast.
Also that.
I need to really update our linked tree and put that kind of in the notes, so everything for follow us on anything will be right there.
Yeah.
So everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate it, and we will see you next time. I'm Ryan.
I'm Anthony.
Let's end a podcast.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.